Today on With the First Pick, we're talking college football playoffs. Which players over the last few days helped or hurt their draft stock? We'll give them the old Popper drop treatment. And we'll talk NFL draft order heading into Week 18 and also hit some headlines with a special edition of Rick Actions. Happy New Year's, everybody. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 210. And Rick, I already hit the button, so there's no surprise here. How many days until the 2025 NFL draft?
Well, you took all the drama out because I don't know until you have the spinning wheel in your background there. But in case you didn't know, Ryan Wilson, there are 111 days until the 2025 NFL draft. Rick, and I am at an undisclosed location.
On location and an undisclosed looks like you're on a spaceship. Tell Captain Kirk or Job of the Hutt we said hello. Quick programming note, by the way. Going to be back to 2 shows per week starting next week. And we'll be live on CBS Sports Network next Wednesday, January 8th at 2 p.m., Rick. So check that out. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. We'll find out. You're very busy these days. Debo, this is how busy Rick is. He called me at 9:58 last night p.m. I thought he was in jail because after 9:30, he is lights out. So he's been a busy little beaver there. Also, Rick, when we get you back full time, we're obviously looking forward to that. But we got to get through these 5-star review prospects that people submitted in the fall. So we'll try to knock those out, hopefully in January. But we'll see where we are as we work through this process together. All right, let's do it. It's time for Rick Actions. Got some questions here. You don't know.
You don't put the disclaimer out. You got to tell the people.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. You give us the disclaimer because you got one of your side hustles going on here. What's going on with you?
Well, no, the disclaimer is I don't know what the questions are going to be. So part of the Over Rick Actions is getting real-time feedback as you give me these BS questions that you and Debo, when you have your side hustle meetings and your coup meetings without me involved in it. Hey, let's try to stump Rick on this one. See if he has something to say, or does he all of a sudden get mouth? I usually have something to say. Yeah,
we got a couple disclaimers. The Over Rick Actions disclaimer. I thought you were going to give it the Jets disclaimer. Do you want to give that disclaimer as well?
No.
Okay. Rick is working with 33rd team and Mike Tannenbaum to help the Jets find their next GM. Nothing he says
and head coach.
Nothing he says here is reflective of any meetings he's had henceforth or prior to this podcast. Period. All right, let's go. Over Rick Actions time. Devo sent me this one, but you and I talked about it in HQ last week. Cam Ward, QB1, I think last time we checked, only played a half of football in his bowl game. I was ecstatic. They rolled the ball out, and for half of football, he played in a meaningless bowl game. On the other hand, Debo, Rick was irate. And I believe what you said on HQ, Rick, was that this is worse than not showing up at all for a bowl game, just playing one half. Am I correct?
Yes, I hated it with a passion. And the reason, either be with your team or don't be with your team. If you're going to pack it in and make a business decision for the draft, that's fine. All right. I'm starting to learn how to live with that. I don't agree with it, but I can live with it. But to say, hey, I'm going to go out there, play a half, and then, oh, by the way, I'm going to quit on my team halfway through the game and watch you get beat the second half, that's not, to me, acceptable. And I can't wait, if we do get him on stage at the Combine, to ask him what went into that decision. Now, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe he talked to his coaches. Maybe there was some kind of agreement made. But to me, either you're all in or you're not all in. And I thought it was, without me knowing what's going on behind the scenes, just from the outside view looking in, I thought it was cowpucky.
Some veggie plates were thrown in the hotel room. I'm of the opinion that I don't care. Debo sent me this tweet from Jeff Schwartz, former NFL offensive lineman. Here's what Jeff tweeted out. Cam will get 0 questions by NFL teams while he sat out the second half of a bowl game. Even Debo's like, 0 questions? He'll get more than 0, right?
He's going to get 1 if he comes onto our stage. So, no, there will not be anyone. There will be at least 1 question.
All right, so we're going to expedite things here along because you got things to do outside of that. All right, we'll revisit that, I'm sure, in the coming weeks and months. 111 days to the draft. All right, what should Quinn Ewers do? And we'll talk about Quinn in a moment, who's in the playoffs. And as you've talked about, these players have an opportunity to improve their draft stock in the playoffs. And Quinn's been okay, a little bit better than okay. But there's a report from On3 that if he were returned to college, he could be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in college football history. $6 million on the table reportedly for next year. Probably not at Texas. If you're advising Quinn and unbiased as way as possible, what are you telling him?
I'm going to flip. And by the way, for the overreactions, I do bring my squeeze ball on the road. I do have a traveling squeeze ball. So
That's going to be in the merch store before you know it, by the way.
Yes. That's my emergency, get through the overreactions. And I'm going to ask you this. He's played a lot of college football. I think we know who he is. I watched the game. He's played well through the playoffs, and I have some ups and downs on what he did this past week in the bowl game. But if he goes, still don't see him as a first round pick. So I can understand, because the top of the second round, if you're not number 32, 33, 34, that's around $6 million in guaranteed money. At least that's what the range was last year. So if you go below that, you're not going to get the $6 million that's potentially on the table for you. So I could see him very easily. I don't know if he'll improve his draft stock. Maybe it will, depending on where he goes and what situation he's in. But he has potential to make more money staying in, taking an NIL deal, if it's reported $6 million, than he would be coming out in the draft this year. Because I don't see him as a first-round talent right now.
Right.
So I would say that, take the money, go back and play another year, and maybe you do improve your draft stock. But he's not going to make that money. It was like we saw Cam Ward, right? He tested, wanted to come out. I think he probably had Saturday grades on him last year. Took more money probably to play, and I don't know what they paid him at the down at the University of Miami of Florida, but made money there. Now he improved his stock to where he may probably be the first player or first quarterback for sure off the board. So he cashed in both sides. He cashed in on the NIL deal, and he cashed in on betting on himself that projected him to be the potential first pick overall in the draft, which is going to be around $40 million this year. Guaranteed money.
So I agree. Also, I would like to see, and this could be the NFL level as well, but he's not going to play next year, almost certainly, Quinn Ewers, if he comes out. I'd like to see him stay healthy. He struggled with that. Had the oblique injury.
Every year he's hurt.
This year.
Guys that are hurt stay hurt. If there's a history there's a reason.
Now, Marius Mims has proven that, and it makes me so angry because you were down on him because of the health reasons, not because of the physical reasons, but he's had those concerns with the Bengals as a rookie as well. All right. Debo, are you able to talk, or are you too sick to talk?
I can speak.
This is going to be the question I asked Rick. I snuck this one in here, and then we'll do some draft order stuff. Thumbs up or thumbs down on Saquon sitting to get the record or rest him ahead of the playoffs?
Big thumbs up.
You're okay with him sitting?
Yeah. The goal
All right, Rick, let me ask you this.
To set a record.
What'd you say?
I said the objective is not to set an individual record. It's to win a Super Bowl. Even if they don't win a Super Bowl, it's still the right decision. If they lose in the first round to the Packers, it's still the right decision.
All right, Rick, with that as a backdrop, and let me give you some fun facts or not so fun facts. I think 9 players now have eclipsed 2,000 yards. Obviously, Eric Dickerson is the record holder. I think it's by 101 yards now for Saquon. But I looked it up. The last time a player eclipsed 2,000 yards was 2020 Derrick Henry. And the final week of the season, which was week 17 back then, they gave him the ball 34 times. He rushed for 250 yards, averaged 7.4 yards per carry. The next week in the wild card round, 40 yards, 2.2 yards per carry, and a loss to the Ravens when he was back with the Titans. So do you agree with Debo? Saquon was happy to sit down. He said all the right things. Or should you prepare for the future?
No, I think the number one thing is what gives you the best chance to win the Super Bowl. I mean, there's nothing at stake for him. Like, let's say it was for the number 1 overall seed for the playoffs, or they're battling for a position, but they're locked in at the number 2 seed no matter what. So there's nothing to really play for. So why risk him? Do you imagine going out there and playing him, and in the first quarter he blows his ACL out? What chance do they have? Maybe they have a chance, but what chance would they have? I can't remember. I think Adrian Peterson's number 2 on that list, and that was in 16 games as well. So if he was going to break the record, there's always going to be an asterisk behind it anyway. Well, he did it in 17 games, not 16 games like the old one. So unfortunately, I have to agree with Debo, as much as that pains me, that this is a smart decision and the right decision for the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, let me ask one quick follow-up, and we'll do some draft order stuff.
How many yards was Adrian away? I remember because that was coming off an ACL the previous year.
So Adrian was at 2. He was number 2 on the list. Well done. He was 8 yards away, 2,097, as opposed to 2,105, which is Eric Dickerson.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Old. That's not bad.
8 yards away.
So what happened? He didn't play in the final game, or he did? What'd you say?
No, that was 16 games back then.
Oh, he was just 17. He ran out of time.
Right.
Was it from lack of trying? All right, let me ask you this real quick, though. Let's say Saquon has, I don't know, I'm just guessing, $1 million bonus if he breaks the Eric Dickerson's record. If his agent comes to you,
that's not happening.
Nothing.
No.
Not gonna throw up 50 grand. Nothing.
No. They want to sign you. And it's not about individual accolades. When you do the incentives in these contracts, it's related to I rush for 1,000 yards, plus we get a first round bye, or plus we win the division. So you always tie a team incentive to the individual incentive. Now, some teams may do individual incentives, but what if, playtime? What if I start 8 games, I get X? Well, maybe you started 8 games because you're not good enough to start, but we had 62 injuries at the position, so you had to start 8 games. So we always try to tie it in with team incentives as well. There's in the contract, you say and, not or. So you have
learn
to
that
get
the hard way.
Yeah, you get those both. You get 1,000 yards, and we win the division. Then you get X amount.
But you're
not
very politely
or
telling,
we win the division.
You're very politely telling Saquon's agent no if he asks.
Yeah, but who it realistically would even come up with a thought like that besides you, and it's after the fact. So,
look, man, I got bills to pay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, don't ask those kind of questions because those kind of get my squeeze ball juices going.
All right, let's do some quick draft order stuff, and then we'll take a break here and rip through these popper drops from the college football week that was. Let's start here. Jalen Milroe declared for the draft. Early on during the fall, I gave him some Anthony Richardson type love. He's not even Anthony Richardson, and I was talking to you about this last night. There's a story in The Athletic about how things have gone sideways in Indianapolis, not just because of Anthony Richardson, but because of the losing and everything else that goes around it. Number one, is Jalen Ward a first-round pick? And number two, do you think he should have come out?
Number one, I don't think he's a first-round pick. And number two, I don't know if I would have came out if I was him. I think the decision was already made. I don't know, even if it wasn't going to be at Alabama, do you go in the transfer portal and maybe make some more money on an NIL deal like we just talked about Quinn Ewers? Number three, everybody knows what a talent he is as a running quarterback.
Right.
And if you watch the bowl game against Michigan, some of the same issues have still popped up that you've seen all year. The inaccuracy, the poise in the pocket. It's just, I don't know if, to me right now, and maybe this changes, just like it changes for Lamar Jackson, although when Lamar came out, I thought he was a better thrower,
right,
and more accurate than Milroe. But they designed the offense around him. So if you're going to take this kid, you know where the issues are with the accuracy and some of the missed throws. You know what a unique athlete he is. Are you going to change your whole offensive scheme to fit around him? Now, you've seen how successful Michael Penix Jr. was in adjusting to that offense with Coach DeBoer down there.
Because he was a runner at Indiana.
Yeah, and but he developed into a really talented thrower. And, we thought, he was the best deep ball accuracy out of any of the quarterbacks coming out last year, and they developed into the number one talent. I don't know if Milroe can throw the ball the same way. Well, I know for a fact, because we've seen it, that he's not the same type of thrower that a Michael Penix Jr. is.
Would you put him on the same page as even Anthony Richardson as a thrower?
Boy, I bet you if you looked at their stats, and since I'm at an undisclosed location, I can't say that. But is he a better than a 60% thrower in accuracy? I mean, you have to question the accuracy.
Right.
And then he'll make some throws that you're like, wow, that's a big boy NFL throw. And then he'll make some throws that's like, make the routine plays look routine. And he doesn't do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this is going to be I think, a wilder ride than Anthony Richardson was during his draft cycle, because there's even more uncertainty, even though Anthony didn't play a lot of football. Jalen's played more football. But would you agree you were hoping to see more growth in Kalen DeBoer's system than what we saw?
Yes. Yeah. And maybe it was him learning the new system and all that other stuff. But I'm going to ask you there, GM Brian Wilson, since
Yeah.
you are enamored with if he goes and runs a 4-3, are you
He's
putting
gonna
him in
run a
the first
4-3.
round? Are
No.
you going to put him in the first round?
I'm
Come
not
on.
falling for that trick. I fall for it all the time.
You always fall for it. God, did you see Milton? He threw the ball 70 yards down the field. It's
And then
crazy.
I meet him and
I've
I fall in love with him when I meet him too. No, I'm not. I'm not taking him in the first round because here's the thing: you go to teams that stink when you get drafted in the first round, typically, especially top half of the first round. He can't start. Can you imagine him in Cleveland? It'd be worst case scenario. He's not helping that team because there's so many holes in that team. He's not helping the Titans or wherever, right?
He may look like DTR right now. How DTR looks lost in Cleveland.
Yeah, no disrespect to DTR, but that was tough to watch last week. And Bailey Zappi starting the Week 18.
Yeah, and he was a 4th round pick.
Right. And he stayed in school forever, too, as well. All right. How about this? Giants scored 45 points last week against the hapless Colts. Most points they've scored in 9 years. Brian Dable's making his case to keep his job. And they're now picking 4th. They're going to play they play Debo's Eagles. And obviously the Eagles are resting people. Who knows? Maybe the Giants win that game and fall even farther out. But even at 4, you're not getting the top 2 quarterbacks, and you're probably not getting Travis Hunter. What are you doing?
Trading back if I can't get one of those quarterbacks.
Who's the quarterback?
Well, I should not say that because usually there's about 8 or 9, maybe legitimate blue chip type players. So who are those? Is it Mason Graham from Michigan?
I mean, so you have Mason Graham and Dexter Lawrence, and you still don't have a quarterback. That's
right.
Great.
Right, but they have to solve the quarterback issue. And the problem is with this draft this year, there's not like next year. I don't know, but it seems like it's going to be a lot better class of quarterbacks. But this year, it's a bad year if you need a quarter. It's like when
let me ask you:
had the number 1 overall pick. Huh?
Is that an easy selling point to the owner? No. Next year's class will be great at quarterback. Just give us 12 more months of terrible football.
You've 3 years. It usually is your time limit. So we'll see what happens on Monday.
Hey, by the way, last week's podcast, you mentioned the veteran coach who coached up 2 Hall of Famers and was enamored by Carson Beck. Had somebody reach out and tell me who they thought it was. I won't say it here, but I didn't even think of the name.
Who?
Oh, you want me to tell you who they said?
Yeah.
Will you tell us or no?
No.
Okay. All right. Keep your poker face on because this was a good guess. It didn't even cross my mind. Mike Shanahan. All right. Moving on. You can tell me later whether that's right or not. That's your press conference poker face when someone asks you whether so-and-so's injured. Yeah, there it is. You squeeze that squeeze ball to death. All right. So the Giants are in a bad way. If they win this week, again, yay, you won. Boo, you're messing up your draft stock. All right. Last one here, and we'll take a quick break and then start ripping through
How does Indy give up freaking 45 points to the Giants, who haven't been able to score over 20, and you're in a hunt for a playoff spot? That
man, it's like that loss a few years ago to the Jaguars. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh,
they went down there.
Yeah, got and lost, and got bounced out of the playoffs.
And according to the Athletic article, which I didn't know at the time, but the owner was so fired up. What's the owner's name? I can't remember right now. Jim Irsay was so fired up. During the game, he was asking people, how can we get out of Carson Wentz's contract? It wasn't all Carson's fault, but that's one of those games you just can't lose. And they did it again and gave up 45 to the Giants. That's hard to come back from. So we'll see how that plays itself out. A team that's going in the other direction, again, for the wrong reasons, but here we are. The Raiders have won 2 in a row. They beat the aforementioned Jaguars. They beat the Saints. This week they play the Chargers, so that maybe ends the win streak. We'll see. The Chargers still have something to play for. They're going to the playoffs. But let's say the Raiders end up around 8, and I wrote this down. Would you, as Tom Telesco, who doesn't trade up, but it's going to have pressure probably from Tom Brady and Mr. Davis and whoever the head coach is, whether it's AP or someone else, would you do a Bryce Young type trade up to number 1 to get a quarterback?
I don't know if I would do that with these quarterbacks.
Let me give you the compensation that it's going to cost you. So you give up the 8.
I'm going to say, don't even tell me. I'm saying no. And the reason I'm saying no is because Aiden O'Connell may be one of those bridge guys that can get you through because he's improved. He's not going to get you to the Super Bowl, but are you willing to give up that type of draft capital and your future years for one of these 2 quarterbacks? I don't know if I just can't see it. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why I do podcasts now.
All right. Well, let's revisit what the just so we have a frame of reference, what the Bears got in return.
No,
Huh?
my vote is no.
Okay, no, but here. I mean, I think you're probably right, but people get desperate, right? So here's what the Panthers traded: DJ Moore, what eventually ended up being Jalen Carter, Brenton Strange, the tight end, a 2024 first-round pick. I don't remember who that took. I don't know why they didn't update this. 2025 second-round pick. And so there's still another second-round pick coming the Bears' way this year.
This year.
If you're the Tennessee Titans, whoever's at the top, if the Patriots stay there, the Patriots, you're taking that all day long to get down to 8 because you can still get an offensive lineman there, whether you're either one of those teams.
And I have my young quarterback. Yes.
And you're fine passing on Travis Hunter, for example?
Yes.
You're one of those? Yeah.
I got too many holes to fill, and that type of draft capital will help you rebuild your roster.
Absolutely. All right, last one. Do you think any team trades up to number 1? If the Tennessee Titans or the Patriots are there, for example. Let's say the Patriots, because the Titans might take a quarterback.
Right. I don't see that. I honestly, unless someone gets desperate.
Okay.
And then if they're desperate, then they make that decision and move on to life. But I personally, from what I've seen at this point, would not.
Have you ever been desperate on draft to the point where you overtraded up?
I'd probably have to go back and look at it. That's a lot of drafts to recollect.
Well, the Adrian Peterson was easy. We know that. Debo doesn't want to talk about the Justin Jefferson draft, so we won't. All right, let's take a quick break. Come back. We're going to do a little college football pop or drop from the college football playoff weekend right after this.
At CBS Sports Galazzo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
All right, Rick, let's start with the Penn State-Boise State game. I bet my house that Boise would win that game. That's how much I hate Penn State, but it didn't work out that way for me and my. So we're homeless. Got to stay with Debo until we get back on our feet. Boise didn't really have a chance. Boise State didn't in that game.
That's amazing. Debo was able to recreate your studio in his house that looks the same like the house in Syracuse.
His house
Way
is
to
bigger
go,
than your house.
Debo.
His house is bigger than your house, Rick, so he's doing okay for himself.
Just humble little shack that we live in under a palm tree.
All right, let's talk about Ashton Jeanty from this game, and we'll get through all the other guys as we get through the draft process, but just in particular what this means pop or drop-wise. So you got to give me a pop or drop from the game, but let me give you this. So I went back and looked this morning. He had 30 carries for 104 yards, only averaged 3.5 yards per carry in the game, had 2 fumbles, which he had 5 fumbles on the year total, including those 2. But of those 30 carries, how many times do you think Penn State had at least 7 guys in the box?
Oh, I was counting 8. I didn't even say 7. I said 8 because they kept walking the safeties down. And the one thing is Penn State is just physically more gifted up front than the Boise State offensive line.
And Abdul Carter only played a half because of an arm injury. But let me tell you quickly, 20 times out of 30, they had at least 7+ guys in the box. Of those 20 carries, he rushed for 38 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. And by the way, quickly, 6 or less guys in the box, 10 carries for 61 yards. So you can do the math. It ain't brain surgery. Go ahead.
No. Do you think that James Franklin and Debo helped put the defensive game plan together on, hey, there's only one guy we need to stop.
One guy.
And I don't care if the quarterback's going to beat us, as any of these receivers going to beat us, then we're just not good enough. But for one thing, for sure, that Jeanty is not going to beat us. And so if I have to put 9, 10, 11 guys in the box, I'm going to do that because we're not going to let this guy run all over the people. And then, the other thing that, and we talked, I don't know if we talked about it last podcast or not, is why do Boise deserve a bye?
Because that's how the rules are laid out.
I know. I don't agree with them.
Okay, fair enough.
From college. I mean, it maybe does a layoff because they had a bye the first week of the first round of playoffs, and then all of a sudden, is that too long a layoff? Since I'm assuming they won the conference championship game.
Yeah.
That why all of a sudden Jeanty's putting the ball on the ground because he hasn't been hit in a couple of weeks. I don't know. I just think it should be whatever formula they come up with that these schools that aren't Power 4s, should they deserve to get a bye in the first round?
Yeah, I don't think you want to punish them because they don't have more money than the big time schools. But
Yeah, no, but I'm going by competition.
okay, right, fair enough. I get it. So you got to give your cold.
I'm giving them credit for the season they had and what a great job they've done. I'm just saying if you threw them in and they had to play Oregon in the preseason, Penn State in the preseason, Indiana preseason like Ohio State had, or throw them in the SEC, would they have been the number 4 or number 3 seed in this playoff?
Right. By the way, remind me to talk about Indiana when we get to Ohio State. Ashton Jeanty, cold hard facts, pop or drop in this game.
Well, it's not the kid's fault, but it's a drop for me. I mean, that kid needs to sit in an ice bath for like 3 days just
He's
so he
still
can
in there.
move again. Oh, it was a beating.
Still first
And
round.
the fumbles, yeah, and the fumbles. But it
Yeah.
may put in some question marks a little bit. I understand they were outmanned out front, and I don't think it should be like off this game because they just were physically not as good as Penn State was. But I think it may drop him. He's a first-round talent, but may drop him a little bit in the first round compared to maybe if he would have had 150 yards rushing.
Yeah, I get it. That's probably not fair. But like I said, when there was a light box, he averaged 6.1 yards per carry, which means he needs help. He's not going to do it by himself, which is the case for Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs as well. If you put them on that team, they probably have the same sort of output. But yeah, still a first-round pick. When he comes in at 5'6", we'll have to talk about that. I don't care. I don't care how tall he is. All right. Let's go to the Texas ASU game. Man, that was a fun game. ASU was getting stomped a little bit there. I think they were down 16 at one point. Skattebo was getting fired up on the sidelines. Knowing nothing about Cam Skattebo other than us talking about him the last 2 years, and shout out to the listener / viewer who told us about Skattebo during the 2023 season. He was getting animated on the sidelines, getting frustrated early on, yelling and screaming. Do you care about that or no?
No, it's in the heat of the battle. And I mean, he literally carried that team in this game. I mean the running, the
pass
version, the pass. How about the catch down the sideline?
Catch.
It looked like a receiver out there. And then the most impressive catch was it was 3rd and 4. He was a little short, but how he adjusted in the back route, thrown behind him, and then had the awareness after making a very difficult catch to reach the ball out to almost get a first down. I mean, that kid put on a show. And without him, now, I wish I would have seen that in Jeanty a little bit. But
he was exhausted. I guess Cam was throwing up on the sidelines too, so he was tired too.
Right. Then I read some, and maybe I misread it, that, well, he was throwing up because he was out drinking tonight. Are you kidding me? That kid was probably so much hydration and loading up with Gatorade. I've seen dudes puke all the time on the practice field because they drink too much. Right. That's part of keeping hydrated. And that kid didn't have any gas left in the tank.
Exactly.
I mean, the way he played. I had a great comp for him.
Okay. I don't want to guess you'll get mad, so I don't want to ruin it. You seem pretty happy now, so let's hear your comp.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there and watching this guy, and I know, and I don't know if he'll go on Friday or not because I don't know how fast.
How can he? Let's talk about that before the comp. How can he not go on Friday? Given the, we overuse this word, but no one has more heart than Cam Skattebo. Physically, he won't run a 4.2, but good Lord, it's hard to. You can't coach that. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, he has whatever that what's woven inside of him.
Yeah,
that's unique. And you talk about trying to find players with passion for the game and all that. He does everything. It's just I don't know if he's going to come in at 5'8". I don't know if he's going to run a 4.6. But I think the measurements, and if it's fortunate or unfortunate, that the measurements and maybe the 40 speed may keep him out of Friday. If he runs in the 4.5s or 4.4, then yeah, I could see him going, on Friday. But you also got to know this guy has a lot of wear on that tread on that tire.
Yeah.
Because he's taken a beating, and he took a beating in this game as well. But I've never seen I've seen quarterbacks do it, but I've never seen a running back carry a team on his back in like the performance that he put on.
All right, his comp.
I'm going way back to the 1970s since
Earl
he's
Campbell.
a throwback. No,
I had to guess.
come on.
Sorry.
Don't ruin it. You're ruining the show coming up with
All right. I couldn't help myself. All right, go ahead. Who is it?
He was a great Minnesota Viking that was one of the toughest running backs ever.
Got nothing.
Bill Boom Boom Brown.
I don't even know Bill Boom Boom Brown. That's one for Pete Prisco. Is that like 60s, 70s?
70s, yeah.
Bill
Yeah.
Boom Boom Brown. We'll write that down and look it up. I love it. I tell you what, man, his name should be Boom Boom or Bam Bam. He feels like Boom Boom or Bam Bam
Yeah.
from the Flintstones.
And I had a little bit of an advantage because I was in Minnesota so long, so I know that the
Bill
Vikings
Boom Boom
history.
Brown. That's a great nickname.
Yes.
Oh, Debo found him. Look at him. Yeah, that guy, he looks. If you told me Cam Skattebo played in that era, that would make all the sense in the world.
That's why that name popped into my head.
Bill Boom Boom Brown.
See if there. I don't even know if there's any YouTubes on with the guys that played that, but and I got and he passed away, but I did get to meet him a few times while I was up in Minnesota, and what an incredible human being. But I just remember watching him growing up, and what a great running back that he was.
So he played from 61 to 76 till age 36. Man, all right.
Led the league in carries in 1966 with 251 carries for a right 3.3 yards per carry.
He earned it. Didn't know this was going to turn into a Boom Boom Brown podcast. I love it.
Did you ever hear that name before, Debo?
I actually have not.
Oh my God, you guys are this modern age people.
Modern age. I haven't been called that in a while. All right, let's talk about the team on the other side who almost gave it away, and I thought they were going to lose. Quinn Ewers, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He made the throw on 4th down into the end zone, and the guy was wide ass open. I think Golden was the receiver. I like that kid a lot too, by the way. He's not coming out till next year, I don't believe. Isaiah Bond was banged up for much of that game. The right tackle didn't play because of injury. Kelvin Banks was injured for a little bit, and I think he came back. But where were you on Quinn Ewers? You said he's not a day one guy. Is there any chance like he slipped into day 3?
I don't know. Okay. I would take the $6 million to run if I were him.
I think so.
So I thought he played well. When the pocket's clean, when he's in rhythm and on time, he is an accurate thrower. I think he puts too much air under the ball down the field, which underthrows some deep balls. I don't think he's a great off-schedule playmaker. He did have.
You just have him in the pocket and had the nice touchdown to gun around it.
Yeah, and he scrambled. He scrambled, and I think he ran for a score as well. He was very good in overtime, so that's one thing under the pressure situation. He came through in the double overtime game. He even took him down in the 4th quarter at the end of the game to put him in field goal range to actually win the game with a walk-off field goal, and the guy doinked one. So, but his arm talent is just okay, and I just don't know. The pocket's going to get a lot muddier and messier at the NFL than it is right now. So when he's clean in the pocket, it's like he looks like he's throwing 7-on-7 drills because you want to see everything that he does. But when it's muddy, then that's where I have the issues with him.
And the injuries we talked about.
Right.
You would like to see him stay healthy. All right, let's go. Man, I didn't see this coming. Maybe you did. One of your side hustles here. Ohio State took a scrimmage whooping to Oregon. My goodness. In the Rose Bowl of all places. And Will Howard completed over 80% of his passes in the first playoff game. Who'd they beat in the first round? Who was that?
Tennessee.
Oh, goodness. They whooped up on Tennessee. And then Oregon's got some dudes on defense. They got a lot of dudes on defense. No answers for basically Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith. Even Emeka Egbuka had a good game. The running backs had a good game. So where are we on Will Howard? Because you're higher on him than I was during the fall. I think he's a day 3 guy, but maybe that changes because he's played a little pretty consistently these last few weeks here.
Yeah, he's taken his game to another level, I think, in the playoffs. I know he was disappointed in his performance in that Michigan game, but he took a pretty good shot. So early in the first quarter or early in the second quarter against Michigan, and I don't know if he was trying to play through the injuries, because he got walloped that game. But the way he responded after not playing well in Michigan, which was probably his worst game of the season, and how he's performed in this playoffs, in the cold temperatures, against Tennessee, that did not faze him, had probably one of his best games. And then you go out to the Rose Bowl against the number 1 team in the country, and you put an arse whipping on him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's throwing to a unicorn, and Mr. Smith.
Hey, let me
Luka.
ask quickly because I was asked this. I hate to do revisionist history, but last year's draft class, if they're all available, Jeremiah Smith, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Malik Neighbors, who you checking first?
Oh, Smith, without
Me
even
too.
hesitation. Yeah, that's
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
that's one of your bonehead questions, but
I didn't know it was that obvious.
yeah, but his accuracy down the field, I still think he still misses some throws. I think he's athletic enough to make some plays with his leg. He's not a statue in the pocket. A little disappointed, and when he rolls to his left or his right, the accuracy seems to fall off there. But they had a great game plan, and And Chip Kelly, kudos to him for the offensive game plan that came up against Oregon, and they should have. They had a legit chance to beat Oregon in Oregon during the regular season.
They were out coaching that first game. This game, it was the other way around.
Yeah, and Ryan Day, is anyone who thinks he should be fired for thinking he should be fired, because I think he's a heck of a football coach, and to have that team respond the way they responded after losing another devastating loss and being an Ohio State alum from getting my master's degree there, I got to call it the TTUN, that team up north. I'm referring to Michigan. Is that they came back, and once they got through that initial disappointment, they came in, honed in, and focused. I don't know if there's a better team right now playing than Ohio State, and their number one mission is now to go win that national championship. And the way they're humming on offense and defense, and you got to remember, these guys have all played together for at least 2 years, except Will Howard just came in. But the receivers, and I understand Smith's the freshman, but the defense, some of the guys that have made improvements from last year to this year that stayed in school, they kept this team together for a reason. And why all those guys came back, because they wanted to achieve the ultimate goal of winning a national championship. Right now, it seems like they are on their way.
All right. Now just find me a donut with that check. How about that? Quickly, yeah, I wanted to mention Indiana quickly. Apparently, according to Curtis Work's agent, he tore his ACL in August and played the entire season on his ACL torn, and he's going to have surgery. So we'll talk about that going forward, but that'll have some impact on our evaluation of him, I would imagine, given that he played on one leg and the toughness and all that goes along with it. So, but on the other side of the ball, a lot of dudes we could talk about. But let's talk about Jordan Birch, who is a rocked up edge rusher. He's not twitchy, but he is strong as an ox, and he moves pretty well for his size. He had a couple big tackles on Will Howard, a handful of plays they made on defense over the course of our football. What do you like about number one, Jordan Birch?
Yeah, I didn't see him. I didn't evaluate him. I think he was hurt. He missed 4 games this year. I don't think he played in the Ohio State game, the first game. I think he was injured for that game. But just looking at his measurements, they say he's 6'6". He's almost 295 pounds. This guy had double-digit sacks. He had 10 sacks this year. So I was taken back by his size. I thought he was a pretty twitchy athlete.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be like a Pierce or an Abdullah, but those guys are a lot smaller. But this guy has a quick first step off the snap when he rushes the passer. Very good inside counter move. He has more than enough power and strength to walk the offensive tackle back into the quarterback's lap. What I really liked is that I thought for a tall guy, he played with leverage at the point versus the run. And then he busted his arse from the backside. And I see this guy can move for the size he is. So I was taken back a little bit. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But I was, and this is a great class of edge rushers. And I think he's going to be in that. I don't know if he's going in the first, but I would put him in the mix with all these guys that are right now in the second round. And if you need an edge rusher, you don't get one in the first, you're going to get one on Friday for sure. And I think this guy is that talented to be in that mix, after that second tier, wherever that second tier starts.
Yeah, and it could be a Darius Robinson situation that as we get through the pre-draft process, we keep talking about him and he keeps moving up because can't coach size. I don't know what the comp is for him because, Keon White was that size, but he wasn't that tall. Who's that weight?
Keon White, he wasn't that long as this kid.
Yeah, 6'6" is nuts.
Right.
I remember this guy weighed 30 pounds less, but coming out, Drake Jackson was a name that people kept talking about that I didn't get. I get
Yeah.
it with Jordan Birch. Like, you can see.
And I don't, because I'm better at coming off the top of my head with comps, because I didn't even think of a comp, but the first one that kind of popped into my head, and I think he's a little twitchier, is Gross Manis from
Oh,
Penn State. That's the
Yeah.
first thing that, as you're sitting there talking, coming up with I have no idea where you get your comps and what reasoning you
Gross.
come up with. But Gross Manis came out of Penn State, was a
Second
long
round pick.
guy. Yeah.
He's
and I
in
think
San
this
Francisco
kid's,
now, I believe.
yeah, a little twitchier.
All right. I will tell you that I hate that.
How about that one? Did you say, boy, that's okay? Come up with a better one.
No, not now. I was going to, and then you said something. All right, look, 30 seconds. What do you think about this? I don't know how much of I think you were busy yesterday, so you didn't see the Georgia Notre Dame game. You didn't miss a whole bunch. But here's where I'm now on Riley Leonard. I think Taysom Hill has to be his future.
Is that the guy that you were like very enamored with?
Yeah, I loved him.
Right.
I don't think he's progressed enough to be considered a starting quarterback, at least right now. He's out of eligibility, so it's not like he's only been playing for a year and a half. He's going to go to the Senior Bowl, so we'll see him there. But do you trust him to be a quarterback in the NFL?
And I agree. I just don't know. Athletically, size, extremely talented. Can make plays with his legs, yes. Can he throw the ball? He's too inconsistent for me right now. I'm anxious to see him down at the Senior Bowl and actually see him throw in person and see what it looks like. But yeah, I don't know if I would put him in the top tier of quarterbacks, although there's not really a top tier in this year's draft class.
Yeah, I had high hopes for Riley. Still can happen. All right. That's it, Rick. That's a wrap on episode 210. Thanks, as always, to my guy, Rick, who's going to go land the Millennium Falcon right now. Thanks to Debo for producing. Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen. And we'll be back next week, 2 times a week going forward. But Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports Network. We'll see you guys then.